The evening sky outside the Thompson family's small apartment had already begun to dim, streaked with shades of purple and rust orange. The streetlights flickered on one by one, casting soft circles of light on the quiet neighborhood. Inside, however, the air felt heavy, not with the calm of night, but with a sadness that had quietly settled over the house like dust. 8-year-old Maya Thompson sat cross-legged on the living room floor, rocking her baby sister, Lila, gently in her lap. Lila's small fingers curled around the edge of Maya's shirt, her warm breath brushing softly against her skin. For a moment, Maya focused only on the baby, the rise and fall of her tiny chest, the faint scent of powder on her clothes, the little cooing noises she made in her sleep. But beneath this calm, Maya felt something shifting inside her. A feeling she didn't have a name for, half courage, half fear, like a bird trapped in her chest, wings fluttering. From the kitchen, she could hear her parents talking in low, serious tones, their voices muffled but tense. Her father, Daniel, had come home early that day, earlier than Maya had ever seen. He walked in without his usual smile, without his usual, "Hey kiddo, how was school?" Instead, he dropped into a chair with his head bowed, rubbing his temples as if he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Maya didn't understand everything, but she understood enough. Her father had lost his job. Earlier that week, their electricity had briefly been cut due to an overdue bill. Her mother, Rachel, had stayed awake late into the night, doing the math on her old calculator, whispering prayers under her breath. And although Maya was young, she was not blind. She saw the worry in their eyes. She felt it, and she hated it. "Hold her just a bit, sweetie," Rachel said suddenly, walking into the room with that tight, practiced smile she always used when she didn't want her children to worry. "I just need to check on dinner." Maya nodded. She adjusted Lila in her arms, looking down at her sister's innocent sleeping face. She wished she could protect her little sister from everything, from fear, from pain, from the sound of their parents' strained voices. She wished she could protect them all. A soft humming escaped Maya's lips, barely a sound, almost accidental. It was a lullaby, one she remembered faintly from her grandmother before she passed away. The tune was warm and old, like sunlight on a window. But the moment Maya realized she was humming, she froze. She didn't sing in front of people. She didn't sing at all. Not since the day she tried to sing at a school event and a few children laughed. She wasn't off key, exactly, just too soft, too nervous, and the moment she heard giggles, her voice broke and she ran off stage. The memory still lived inside her like a bruise. She hadn't sung since. But tonight, as her parents' whispers grew sharper behind the thin kitchen wall, something rose inside Maya again, the trapped bird fluttering harder. She looked at the baby in her arms, then at her father's hunched figure beyond the kitchen doorway. Maybe she could help. Not with money, not with grown-up problems, but with something else, something only she had. Her voice. The thought both terrified and thrilled her. She swallowed hard, stood up carefully with the baby, and walked toward the kitchen. Her small feet felt like they carried the weight of stones. She paused at the threshold and took a deep breath. "Mom," her voice came out small. Rachel turned around immediately. "Yes, honey." Maya shifted nervously. Can you hold the baby for a minute?" Her mother's brows knitted. "Of course." She gently lifted Lila from her arms. "Why, is something wrong?" Maya shook her head. She felt the bird in her chest beating its wings again. "No, I just want to sing something." Both her parents stared at her. Her father straightened up slowly, as if waking from a long, painful dream. His tired eyes blinked in surprise. "You want to sing?" Maya nodded, though fear crawled up her spine. "But you have to hold the baby. I need my hands free." She said it so seriously, as though she were about to perform something sacred, like casting a spell. Her mother and father exchanged glances, but there was no judgment, only confusion, curiosity, and maybe a spark of hope. Rachel stepped back into the living room, holding Lila close. Daniel remained where he was, leaning forward, elbows on the table, watching his daughter with weary eyes. Maya took her position in the center of the room. Her hands trembled. A small audience, her mother with Lila, her father, the dim light of a single lamp, and the quiet night pressing against the windows. She closed her eyes, and then she began. The first note was so soft it was almost swallowed by the air. But Maya pushed through her fear. She let her voice float, gentle, shaky, like a leaf drifting on water. She sang the lullaby, the one she remembered from her grandmother, the one that felt like warmth and safety and home. Her voice grew stronger with each verse. Lila stirred, then settled again, tiny fingers clutching the edge of her mother's shirt as if soothing her in return. Rachel's eyes widened as the melody filled the room, washing over every corner like a healing tide. She had never heard Maya sing like this. So pure, so emotional. Each note carried something deep, something a child shouldn't understand, yet somehow did. Daniel felt tears pricking at his eyes. He hadn't cried in years. But something about the sound of his daughter's voice felt like a hand reaching into his chest and squeezing his heart gently, reminding him that he wasn't alone, that his family was still here, still together. The neighbors walking outside slowed down, heads turning toward the open window. The music was faint from the street, but beautiful enough to make them stop. A couple of them listened quietly, exchanging looks of awe. Inside, Maya's voice rose, not loud, but full. Full of hope, full of something bright enough to cut through the heaviness in the air. She wasn't singing to impress anyone. She was singing to save something. To save her family. As she reached the final verse, her voice softened again, descending like a feather landing gently on the ground. Silence followed. A deep, thick silence. Maya opened her eyes, suddenly frightened. Did she do something wrong? Was her voice bad? Were they disappointed? But then she saw them. Her mother was crying, quiet tears slipping down her cheeks. Her father was wiping his eyes, trying to hide the evidence, but failing miserably. And her baby sister was smiling in her sleep. Slowly, her father stood up. He crossed the room, knelt beside Maya, and pulled her into a tight embrace. "Sweetheart," he whispered, voice cracking, "that was the most beautiful thing I've ever heard." Maya felt warmth spread through her entire body. The trapped bird in her chest settled at last, wings folding gently. For the first time in days, her parents weren't arguing. They weren't stressed. They were simply together, connected by a song sung by a little girl who finally found her courage. And though Maya didn't know it yet, this moment, this brave, trembling choice to sing, would change everything for her family. It was only the beginning. The next morning arrived slowly, like a cautious visitor unsure if it was welcome. A soft golden light filtered through the thin curtains of the Thompson family's living room, touching the old sofa, the bookshelf. Missing 2 panels, and the small table with its chipped paint. But inside the home, something had changed. The heaviness that had hung in the air for days, the quiet tension, the unspoken fear, seemed to have lifted overnight. It didn't vanish entirely, but it loosened its grip, as though Maya's song had gently pushed it away. 8-year-old Maya Thompson woke before anyone else. She stretched her small arms, yawned, and quietly stepped out of bed. The memory of last night's singing flooded her mind. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment at first, but then she remembered her father's hug, her mother's tears, and the quiet smiles. They had listened. They had loved her voice. And she had helped them, even just a little. She tiptoed to the living room and found her father sitting at the table with a cup of instant coffee, staring at a stack of papers, job applications, bills, and handwritten notes. "Daddy," she whispered. Daniel looked up, surprised to see her awake. A tired smile tugged at his lips. "Good morning, little star." Maya blushed. "Why are you calling me that?" "Because," he said, leaning back in his chair, "you lit up this whole house last night." She ducked her head shyly, playing with the sleeve of her pajama shirt. I didn't mean to cry. I thought I messed up." Daniel shook his head. "You did everything right. You did more than you know." Before Maya could answer, the sound of soft crying came from the hallway, baby Lila waking up. Her mother soon appeared, hair messy, but eyes warmer than they had been in days. "Good morning, honey," Rachel said gently, bouncing Lila against her shoulder. Maya hugged her mother tightly, feeling the warmth of her embrace. For the first time in weeks, the home felt like a home again. But the world outside their door had heard her voice too. Later that afternoon, when Maya went outside to play, a few neighbors waved from their porches. That wasn't unusual, but the way they looked at her was admiration, soft smiles, eyes that lingered a moment too long, remembering something beautiful. Mrs. Hernandez from across the street leaned on her fence. "Little Maya," she said in her warm Spanish-accented voice, "you have a gift. I heard you last night. I almost cried." Maya's cheeks flamed. "Thank you," she whispered. "And you should sing more." Mrs. Hernandez winked. "The world needs voices like yours." But Maya wasn't sure. Inside her heart, She still carried the memory of children laughing at her during the school talent show. It was a memory that clung to her like a shadow. And yet, she remembered her mother crying, not from sadness, but from something deeper. She remembered her father's voice cracking as he told her she was amazing. Maybe singing wasn't something to fear anymore. Maybe it was something she could give. A week later, things in the Thompson home slowly began to shift. Daniel still hadn't found a job, but he was trying. The stress remained, but now there was something else too, hope. But the moment everything changed again came on a Saturday morning when a knock sounded at their front door. Maya was coloring on the floor when her mother stood up to answer it. On the other side stood a woman Maya had never seen before, a middle-aged lady with gray hair tied in a bun, a long brown coat, and glasses that perched loosely on her nose. She clutched a notepad and a camera. "Hello," she said with a polite smile. "My name is Mrs. Delaney, and I work for the neighborhood community newsletter. I heard something quite remarkable." Rachel frowned slightly. "Oh, how can I help you?" "Well," the woman continued, "several neighbors told me your daughter sang a lullaby last week, and that it moved them to tears." Rachel blinked, surprised. Maya felt her heart jump. "Yes," Rachel said shyly. She has a lovely voice." Mrs. Delaney nodded eagerly. "I was hoping to write a small feature about your family, and Maya's singing, in our next newsletter. It might even be shared online. Would that be all right?" Maya's eyes widened. A feature? In a newsletter? Her father stepped into the doorway, curious. "What's happening?" The woman introduced herself again and explained the idea. Daniel looked hesitant at first, glancing down at his old, worn-out shirt, the bills scattered on the table behind him. But then he saw Maya's face, the mixture of fear and hope. He smiled gently. "We'd be honored," he said. Maya clasped her hands nervously as the woman entered with her notepad. She sat across from the family, asking questions. "How old are you, Maya? When did you start singing? What inspired you?" Maya didn't know how to answer everything, but she did her best. At one point, Mrs. Delaney asked kindly, "Sweetheart, would you mind singing just a few lines for me?" Maya froze. All her old fears rushed back. Those kids laughing at her, her voice shaking, her throat drying up. But then she looked at her parents. Her mother gave a tiny encouraging nod. Her father mouthed silently, "You can do it." The bird inside her chest fluttered again, but this time, not in panic. In courage. Maya took a deep breath. She began singing the same lullaby she had sung that night. Her voice trembled at the beginning, but then it steadied. The melody flowed into the room, soft and clear, weaving around them like a warm blanket. Mrs. Delaney's eyes softened, her hand pausing on her notepad. When Maya finished, the woman whispered, "My goodness, you really are special." Maya had never felt prouder. The newsletter goes out. A few days later, the story was published. At first, Maya didn't think much of it, just a small article in a neighborhood paper. But then something unexpected happened. People started knocking on their door. A music teacher from the local school, a choir director from a nearby church, a volunteer group organizer planning a charity event. And then, most surprising of all, the community center called. They were hosting a charity gathering to raise funds for families struggling financially. Someone had shared Maya's article with them, and they wanted her to sing, in front of a real audience. The moment her mother told her, Maya felt her stomach twist. All those people, watching me, what if I mess up? What if they laugh? Rachel knelt down and cupped Maya's cheek. "Honey, last time you sang, you healed this whole house. Imagine what you could do for others." Her father joined, placing a hand on her shoulder. "You don't have to do this. But if you want to, we'll be right there with you." Maya looked down at baby Lila, who sat on the carpet chewing on a toy giraffe. Lila smiled at her, the pure, innocent smile that could melt the coldest winter. And something inside Maya settled. She nodded. "I'll try." The day of the charity event. The community center buzzed with people, families, volunteers, neighbors, friends. Paper lanterns hung from the ceiling, the smell of baked cookies drifted through the air, and soft chatter filled the room. Maya stood backstage, clutching the hem of her dress. Her legs felt like jelly. Her palms were sweaty. Her father crouched beside her. "You'll be amazing." Her mother adjusted her hair. "We're so proud of you." Baby Lila babbled happily, kicking her feet as if cheering her on. When the announcer said her name, Maya took a breath so deep it reached her toes. She walked on stage. Lights shone down on her. Faces filled the room, smiling, waiting. Her heart pounded. Then she closed her eyes and sang. The lullaby rose again, stronger than ever before, flowing through the hall like soft rain. People stopped talking. Volunteers paused mid-motion. Parents held their children closer. Her voice carried something real, pain, hope, love. Something only a child who had seen struggle, but still believed in light, could express. When she finished, the room was silent for a heartbeat, and then erupted in applause. People stood. They cheered. They wiped tears from their eyes. Maya stood frozen, overwhelmed. She had done it. She had faced her fear, and won. From the audience, her father lifted baby Lila high, pride shining in his eyes. Her mother clapped harder than anyone else. In that moment, Maya knew something important. Her voice wasn't small. It wasn't weak. It was powerful. And it could change lives.